Hello my dear community, how are you? Today I'm going to talk to you about formalism and functionalism, two of the main theories in critical theory. The first one, formalism, has its origins in Russia, and the second one in Prague. Actually, for Russian formalists, the author was someone who took language and reshuffled forms and different literary devices and things. They didn't even think the author was important. So after this theory was created, there came functionalists and they challenged and changed this into we are important. People are part of literature, so feelings and notions and culture have a lot to do with it. Therefore, from a very superficial theory which analyzes text as what is printed on the page, period, to a theory which deals with the human creation in literature. Stay tuned. First, I will describe the theories and then I'm going to apply them to a painting and then to literature itself. See you! Let's discuss formalism and functionalism, two groundbreaking theories in the evolution of critical theory. Let's begin by Russian formalism, also known as formalism for short. Begun in 1915 and evolving into the 1920s, Russian formalism tried to establish what made a literary text literary. It also tried to establish what makes a poem poetic. But let's focus on the name. Formalism focuses on form. Focusing on the form means that it only pays attention to the surface of the text, the printed word on the page, not its function or its historical context. The main concepts within this theory are defamiliarization, foreground, and background. The term defamiliarization refers to the fact that literary texts tend to change everything that is made dull by habit. That is to say, every time you read a literary text, your mind is challenged into thinking in a different way, observing reality in a different way. Let's discuss foreground. Formalists thought that something came to the foreground. By something I mean language, an item of language. It could be a sentence or a whole paragraph or some words, because some organized violence was applied to that language. For instance, in poetry, you have rhyming patterns, you have alliteration, assonance, imagery. All of those things represent something that comes to the foreground because it is unusual. The rest of the language, or the elements that have not been changed or forced, as they have not gone through any violence, become part of the background. If we think about narrative as different from poetry, there's the reshuffling of time and space. The changes in the plot, flashbacks and flash forwards, and the change in narrator are all things that create some violence, which forces the reader to regard reality in a different way. As those items of language have somehow been forced by the author, they become part of the foreground, leaving all of the rest to the background. Let's talk about the Prague School of Functionalism, also known for short as Functionalism. This school evolved from Russian formalism. It started in the 1920s and they kept on working until the 1960s. The difference between formalism and functionalism is that functionalists socialized and historicized the same concepts used by formalists, that is to say, defamiliarization, foreground and background. One of the main tenets of this theory is that there is no fixed norm or ordinary language use. For them, the term universal does not apply. So instead of having a theory which is text-centered, we have a theory which is socially centered and is historically centered. And of course, it regards the reader as part of the equation in all the literary process. We shall now be applying the theory to painting. Instead of using a text, we are going to use some visual aid. So take a look at my painting. It is the wonderful The Nightmare by Henry Fuseli. So let's go for formalism first. If you take a look at the painting, you can see a lady who's lying in bed. Maybe asleep, maybe unconscious. I would say I would choose the second option. We can also see a very strange creature on top of her. The creature seems to be resting, thinking, lurking. And this creature seems to have some influence on the lady. We don't know what sort of an influence, but it certainly seems to be immobilizing her. Then again, this is at the foreground. Now, what about the background? We can see some curtains, velvety curtains, crimson or red, brownish. And from behind the curtains, another creature is looking onto the scene. But this creature is very certainly at the background, together with the curtains. And then, on the left, we see something like a bedside table with something on top of it. It could be a file containing something. So the truth is, we don't know if this lady has been consuming substances or if she is fast asleep and she is suffering from sleep paralysis, or if she's having a nightmare. Let's begin with a functionalist analysis now. If we take a look at the painting, we are probably going to see the same things we were looking at before. That is to say, the fainting lady, the weird creature on top of her, this situation in which we are not sure if she is asleep and dreaming or she has taken substances and is having some hallucination, whether she is unconscious or she has fainted. Then at the back we've got the curtains, the next creature, which looks like a donkey, the file on the left, and something we hadn't seen before but which certainly belongs to the background, which is the shadow of the first creature projected onto the curtains. That is not all though. We have to pay attention to where the painting has been set. It has been set on a slide I created. The name of the slide is Gallery, because as you can see, it resembles an art gallery. Therefore, my painting, or Henry Fuseli's painting, is in a slide I created whose name is Gallery, and this gallery is now on your screen and you're taking a look at it from somewhere around the world, paying attention to all the details in the painting and in the slide itself. Well, apart from the poetic devices you will find such as rhyming patterns, alliteration, assonance, and everything that turns language in poetry into a special thing, there are other things, as I said in the narrator, in Mrs. Dalloway, for example, the stream of consciousness of Clarissa Dalloway, which is introduced by Virginia Woolf all the time, and so you get in contact with the intimacy of the ideas and this development of the way of thinking of the main character. That is for modernists. But then all through literature you will find things that can be observed as defamiliarized. Why do I say this? Because I've got in my hands The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, one of the main pieces in Gothic literature, Victorian Gothic literature. And in this novella, for example, around page 21 in my edition, Dr. Utterson has found out about Mr. Hyde and he decides that he's going to do something about it. So what he says is, "If he be Mr. Hyde, I shall be Mr. Seek." What do we call this in language? As a device, it is a pun. The pun has the intention of creating something that is sometimes, not always, humorous. And although there is nothing wrong with the language itself, I mean, there hasn't been violence applied to language, the effect it causes on the reader is this humorous thing. Why? Because if you have read the piece, you know that Mr. Hyde, whose name spells like this, could be used as a synonym of the verb to hide. Therefore, as he lives his life in the shadows and he moves during the night and he is hiding from the law and everything else, he does not abide by the social rules of Victorian England. This man is using the surname Hyde as the verb hide. Therefore, if he be Mr. Hyde, I shall be Mr. Seek, because he is intending to find him. Okay, hoping that this has been useful, and as I always offer you, if my content has been good for you, please share it, give it a like and subscribe, and we'll be meeting again soon. Bye-bye!